The Silent Apex. Season 2. Episode 1. The Hunter's Fong.
The road out of Dusk Shore was silent, save for the crunch of boots and the low crash of waves against the cliffs below. Kael moved with difficulty, every step a battle. Lyra supported him, her arm firm around his waist. The villagers had watched him leave in silence. No farewell, no blessing, only fear. They had gone less than a league when the wind shifted. Kael stopped. His storm-gray eyes narrowed. "Do you feel it?" he whispered. Lyra opened her mouth to answer, then froze. The forest around them had gone utterly still. No birdsong, no rustle, only silence. Then a voice cut through the air, smooth as silk, sharp as steel. "I expected more." From the shadows of the pines stepped a man cloaked in black, his mask bone-white, fanged like a wolf. Across his back hung a weapon unlike any Kael had seen, a chain of silver hooks, coiled like a serpent. "The Empire calls you the Silent Apex," the man said, tilting his head. "But storms are never silent. They are loud, brutal, predictable. I am here to end the noise." Lyra drew her daggers, fury flashing.
"Who are you?"
The man bowed, mockery in the gesture. "I am Corin, Fong of the Emperor, first of the 9 hunters. The hound unleashed to drag you to heal." Kael's breath slowed. His body trembled, not just from weakness, but from the storm stirring within. He raised his broken blade. Sparks crackled faintly at its jagged edge. Corin smiled beneath the mask. "Good. Fight me. Show me the power they fear." The chain uncoiled with a hiss, its hooks glinting like fangs. In a blink, it lashed out faster than sight. Kael parried, lightning bursting at the impact. The clash sent both staggering, thunder echoing across the cliffs. Lyra darted in, slashing at Corin's side, but he twisted with inhuman grace, the chain snapping toward her throat. Kael's storm flared, intercepting the strike with a crack of thunder. "Stay back!" Kael roared, lightning bursting from his skin. But Corin only laughed, a low, wolfish sound. "Yes, show me the storm. Show me what destroys even those who shelter you." The duel had begun, not just steel against steel, but storm against Fong. And on this lonely road, under a darkening sky, the first true hunter of the Empire sank his claws into the Silent Apex's fate.
Episode 2. Fong Broken. Storm Unchained.
The silver chain screamed through the air, its hooked fangs tearing through trees like parchment. Kael barely twisted aside, the storm in his veins flaring with each desperate movement. Corin pressed forward without pause, his mask gleaming pale in the half-light. "This is your strength? A spark without control? Pathetic." The chain lashed again, wrapping around Kael's blade, ripping it from his hand. The broken sword clattered to the ground. Kael stumbled, lightning flickering across his skin as his body begged to release the storm. But then he remembered the square, the fear in the villagers' eyes, the whispers, monster, curse, storm spawn. If he unleashed everything now, Lyra would see him as they had. She would fear him too. No, not this time. Kael raised his empty hands, silver arcs dancing between his fingers. He let the storm coil inward instead of lashing outward, compressing like a bowstring drawn too tight. His heartbeat thundered, matching the rhythm of the chain's whip cracks. Corin lunged, hooks flashing for Kael's throat. At the last instant, Kael moved, not with brute force, but with precision. He guided the storm into a single thread of lightning, no wider than a hair, and snapped it into the chain itself. The silver fangs convulsed, crackling with energy. The hunter jerked back in surprise, but too late. Kael wrenched the storm through the weapon, turning it into a live conduit. The chain shrieked like a beast as it exploded with light, fragments scattering. Corin was hurled backward, his mask cracking, smoke rising from his armor. Kael staggered, breath ragged, his hands blistered, but he had not lost control. The storm hissed around him, dangerous yet contained. Corin slowly rose, half his mask shattered, revealing a scarred mouth twisted into a grin. Blood dripped down his jaw. "Good," he rasped. You're not just a storm. You're a blade hidden inside it. He retreated into the shadows, laughter echoing. The Emperor will want to see you bleed for himself. Silence returned to the road. Kael fell to one knee, his strength failing. Lyra rushed to him, gripping his shoulders. Kael,
You controlled it. You controlled it.
he looked up at her, stormlight dimming in his eyes, and whispered, "For now." The sea wind carried his words into the distance, where hunters and princes alike would soon hear. The silent apex was no accident. He was learning to choose.
Episode 3. The Storm's Graveyard.
The forest thinned, giving way to Cliff's car by time and fury. Kael leaned heavily on Lyra, every step leaving blood on the stones. The duel with Corin had hollowed him, though his storm still hummed restlessly beneath his skin. "Where are we going?" he asked, voice hoarse. Lyra's gaze stayed fixed ahead.
Toward the jagged mountains veiled in cloud. Somewhere the Empire fears to tread. If the hunters find us again before you can stand, you won't survive.
They crossed a ridge, and Kael's breath caught. Before them stretched a desolation unlike any he had seen. The land was scarred, blackened, as if lightning had struck the same ground for centuries. Broken towers jutted from the earth like shattered spears, their surfaces etched with symbols that pulsed faintly when the storm winds blew. It was not empty. The air vibrated with unseen power, humming in Kael's bones. His storm stirred restlessly, recognizing this place. Lyra whispered, almost reverent.
Hey, call it the storm's graveyard. Legends say an ancient war of the skies ended here. The Empire forbids its maps from marking it. But I've walked here once before.
Kael's eyes burned with faint light as he reached toward a fallen spire, his fingertips sparking. At his touch, the runes flared alive, blue-white, sending arcs of lightning racing across the ruin. Visions crashed into his mind. Warriors of storm and shadow, blades forged from thunder, a great serpent coiling in the clouds, devouring armies with single breath. He staggered back, gasping. This power is the same as mine. Lyra steadied him, her expression unreadable.
No, Kael. It isn't the same. It's older, wilder. And if you're not careful, it will devour you like it devoured them.
Thunder rolled above, though no storm brewed, as if the graveyard itself had heard her warning. Kael clenched his fists, the storm within resonating with the ruins around him. For the first time, he felt not cursed, but summoned, and far away, in the Crimson Palace, the Emperor stirred uneasily in his sleep, dreaming of thunder.
Episode 4. Trial of the Storm.
Night fell over the graveyard, but the ruins did not sleep. Their runes glowed faintly, alive with an ancient pulse. Kael lay against a shattered pillar, his body trembling. Lyra tended his wounds in silence, her daggers always within reach. Then the ground beneath him shuddered. Sparks leapt across the stone, racing in jagged lines toward the center of the ruin. A low hum rose, shaking the air. Kael's storm responded violently, bursting from his skin. He staggered upright, clutching his chest. Something's calling me. Before Lyra could stop him, the runes blazed blindingly bright. The earth split open, revealing a descent into glowing darkness. Kael's eyes, stormlit, met hers. "I have to go." Lyra gripped his wrist hard.
Then I'm coming with.
The ground swallowed him before she could finish. Kael landed in silence. No wind, no sound, only an endless void lit by veins of lightning that split the darkness like cracks in glass. A voice rolled across the void, deep and resonant, neither male nor female. "You carry the storm, but do not command it. You are a vessel, not a master. To walk is more. You must face what lies within." Shapes began to rise from the lightning fissures. Figures made of stormlight, each one a mirror of Kael. Some bore blades, some bore chains, some bore nothing but open hands sparking with raw power. His own storm raged, lashing outward, desperate to consume them. Kael swallowed hard, fear and fury battling inside him. If this is my trial, then I'll face it. The storm-born reflections lunge, a dozen Kaels striking as one. Kael raised his hands, but instead of releasing his power blindly, he forced himself to breathe, slow, steady. He shaped the storm, bending it into a single arc. One strike, precise, controlled. The first reflection shattered into sparks. The others howled, their stormlight flaring brighter. Kael's teeth clenched, sweat running down his face. Each attack demanded release, demanded chaos. But with every breath, every strike, he held tighter, refusing to let the storm own him. One by one, the reflections fell until only a single figure remained, an echo of Kael, eyes burning with lightning, smiling with madness. The voice thundered again. This is a storm you fear. If you cannot break him, he will break you. The final duel began, Kael against the storm within.
Episode 5. The Storm Made Flesh.
Kael's chest heaved, blood and lightning dripping from his hands. His final reflection stood before him, identical yet twisted, stormlight eyes glowing with hunger, lips curled in a predator's smile. The void trembled around them, fissures of lightning splitting the dark sky. Kael raised his fist, ready to strike again. But then he stopped. The reflection tilted its head, amused. Why hesitate? You fought every other piece of me. Why not kill the last? Kael's storm howled in his veins, urging violence. Yet beneath the rage, he felt something else, familiarity. This figure wasn't an invader. It wasn't Corin. It wasn't the Empire. It was him. Slowly, Kael lowered his fists. His storm double sneered. Weakness. No, Kael said, voice steady. I've been fighting you all my life. And every time I do, I lose. Not today. He opened his hands. Lightning flowed across his skin, but instead of striking, he stepped forward. The reflection struck, a blade of pure thunder aimed at his heart. Kael did not block. He reached into it, into himself, pulling the storm close. The blade dissolved against his chest, becoming light that sank into him. The reflection's form shuddered, breaking apart into sparks that swirled around him. Kael closed his eyes, letting the storm seep into bone, into breath, into thought. For the first time, there was no war inside him, no split between man and storm. He was both. When his eyes opened, they glowed not with wild arcs, but with calm, deep radiance, lightning contained in still water. The voice of the trial boomed across the void. You have not conquered the storm. You have become its balance. Rise, apex. The void shattered. Kael gasped awake on the ruins floor, the runes around him dimming. Lyra knelt at his side, eyes wide.
Kael, your aura.
He stood, lightning coiling calmly across his arms like tame serpents, each spark answering his will. His wounds still bled, his body still ached, but his presence was different, heavy, centered. He looked at Lyra, and for the first time, his smile held no fear. I'm not running from it anymore. Above, thunder roared though the sky was clear. Somewhere far away, the Emperor jolted awake in his throne, sensing a shift in the balance of power. The silent apex had been born.
Episode 6. The Forgotten War.
The ruins were quiet after Kael's awakening, though the air still hummed faintly with power. Lyra watched him carefully as he tested his storm, sparks flowing through his fingers like obedient rivers.
You've changed,
she murmured. Kael looked at his hand, then clenched it into a fist. No, I've become what I was meant to be. Before she could reply, the runes beneath their feet flared again, not with a wild pulse of trial, but with a steady rhythm. A path lit up, leading deeper into the graveyard, toward a sunken hall half buried beneath broken stone. The storm in Kael's chest stirred, urging him forward. They entered cautiously. The hall was massive, its ceiling collapsed in places, yet the walls still bore murals etched in lightning-carved stone. Lyra traced the engravings with her fingers.
Kael, look.
The murals showed armies clashing under storm-filled skies. Not men and beasts, but figures like Kael, storm-bearers, leading legions of fire, shadow, and wind against an empire crowned in crimson. At the center stood a single figure cloaked in lightning, striking down entire armies with a raised hand. The walls called him only by a single symbol, Apex. Kael's breath caught. His storm resonated so strongly it made the air crackle. This was real, Lyra whispered. Storm bearers once ruled the skies. The Empire wasn't always a hunter. At the far wall, beneath rubble, they uncovered a shattered tablet. On it, an inscription half buried in dust. When the apex rises again, the crimson throne will fall. The silence that followed was heavy, broken only by distant thunder. Kael staggered back, heart racing. They don't hunt me because I'm dangerous. They hunt me because I'm a prophecy. Lyra's eyes sharpened. And now you've awakened what they feared most. As if to answer, the ruins trembled. From the shadows above, broken constructs of lightning stirred. Ancient guardians reawakening at the presence of the new apex. Their eyes glowed with stormlight, focusing on Kael. Not enemies, not allies, watchers. Kael clenched his jaw, the weight of destiny pressing down on him. The Empire wants me dead because they know the truth. But if prophecy demands a fall of the Crimson Throne, his storm flared, calm yet unyielding, then I'll make it more than prophecy. I'll make it reality.
Episode 7, Hunters at the Gate.
The storm inside the ruins had only just begun to calm when Lyra froze, daggers already drawn.
Kael, we're not alone.
The air outside shifted, heavy with the scent of iron and fire. Kael felt it too, the storm pulling taut, as though sensing predators at the edges of its domain. From a shattered entrance, boots struck stone. Shadows moved with military precision. And then, a voice Kael knew all too well. Stormbearer. Fenric stepped into the hall, flanked by the Empire's elite hunters. His armor was marked with crimson sigils, his spear humming faintly with captured lightning. His single eye burned with cruel certainty. You've awakened something you shouldn't have. Fenric's gaze swept over the murals, the glowing runes. The storm coiled around Kael. The apex prophecy. Foolish child. You think the Crimson Throne did not already know? Lyra hissed. So the Empire has been killing stormbearers to bury the truth. Fenric smirked. Truth does not matter. Only power. And today, boy, you will die before you take your first step toward it. The hunters spread out, weapons gleaming with enchanted steel forged to sever stormlight. Kael's storm flared instinctively, the ruins themselves answering with a roll of thunder. But this time, Kael did not let it spiral. He stood calm, centered, sparks moving in controlled arcs across his arms. You're wrong, Kael said, voice steady. I'm not here to take a step. I've already begun walking. Fenric's smile hardened. He leveled his spear, then fall. The hunters surged forward, a wave of steel and crimson sigils. But the ruins stirred with them. The storm guardians awoke fully, their bodies of lightning tearing free from the walls, their eyes fixed on Kael. Instead of striking him, they turned on the hunters, unleashing arcs of pure thunder. The hall erupted in chaos, ancient power colliding with imperial discipline. Kael moved through it like a blade of lightning made flesh, every strike precise, every arc deliberate. Lyra danced beside him, silent and lethal, her daggers finding gaps in enchanted armor. At the center of the storm, Kael's gaze locked on Fenric. The hunter wove through the chaos effortlessly, his spear cutting down guardians and bearing down on Kael with relentless precision. The past and present clashed, prophecy and empire colliding under thunder's roar. Kael raised his hand, storm coiling tighter, calmer, deadlier. This ends here, Fenric. Fenric's single eye narrowed, his spear sparking Yes, but not the way you think. And then they struck.
Episode 8, The Forbidden Spark.
The ruins shook with every clash of blade and storm. Kael and Fenric moved like predators circling, each strike more dangerous than the last. Then Fenric drew back, spear humming with strange, unnatural energy. A crimson rune flared across his armor, bleeding light into the stone beneath them. Kael's storm tightened in warning that, "What did you do?" Fenric's grin was sharp and cruel. The throne anticipated this day. "Do you think I was sent alone? Do you think I came without a leash for the storm?" He drove the butt of his spear into the ground. The ruins convulsed. From the cracks in the floor, molten chains of light unfurled, wrapping around a black core that pulsed like a heart. The guardians shrieked in distorted thunder as the chains dragged them into the core, consuming their stormlight. Lyra's eyes widened.
That's not a weapon. It's a prison.
Fenric's voice thundered above the chaos. "The forbidden spark, forged to devour your kind. Today it will erase not only you, boy, but this wretched prophecy and every trace of it." The core expanded, sucking in stormlight like a starving void. Even Kael's own power pulled toward it, his balance straining. The storm within him whispered, "Run." But Kael stood firm. "No, not this time." He planted his feet, sparks flowing across his body, not wild but steady, every breath pulling his storm inward. Instead of fighting the pull, he reached into it, just as he had embraced his reflection. The core's chains lashed out, striking him, trying to tear the storm from his veins. Kael's body burned, lightning ripping his skin, but he held fast. Lyra shouted,
Kael, it'll kill you.
He grit his teeth, voice breaking but resolute. "If this thing devours storms, then it'll choke on mine." With a roar, he unleashed the storm not outward, but into the core, controlled, balanced, every spark flowing like a river into the prison's heart. The chain screamed, cracking under the weight. The core pulsed, swelling, unable to contain the equilibrium he forced into it. Fenric's eye widened. Impossible! The forbidden spark detonated in a blinding surge of stormlight, flooding the ruins with thunder so pure it silenced even the Empire's weapons. When the light faded, Kael stood at the center, battered, bleeding, but unbroken. The Guardian's echoes swirled around him, no longer bound. The ruins were scarred, but alive. Fenric staggered back, armor scorched. For the first time, uncertainty flickered in his gaze. You are not just a storm-bearer." Kael's storm hummed calm and steady, coiling like a crown. His voice was quiet, but it carried through the shattered hall. "No, I am the storm made flesh, the apex."
Episode 9, The Shadow Who Remains.
The ruins still hissed with fading stormlight when Kael staggered forward, chest heaving. Lyra caught his arm, steadying him.
You're alive.
She whispered, half relief, half disbelief. Kael tried to answer, but the words died on his tongue. A sound carried to Broken Hall. Soft footsteps, deliberate, unhurried. From the shattered archway, a figure stepped into the light. Kael's heart stopped. No. The woman moved with quiet grace, her cloak marked by the crimson sigil of the Empire. Her hair was tied back the same way it had been years ago, when Kael last saw her, before the Empire's hunters took everything from him. Her eyes locked on his, steady, unreadable. "Kael." Lyra's grip on her dagger tightened.
Who is she?
Kael's storm flared in turmoil. His voice was raw, almost breaking to... "Selene." Lyra blinked.
You know her.
Kael nodded slowly, unable to tear his eyes away. She was everything before the Empire came, before all of this. Selene stepped closer, her crimson cloak brushing the ruined floor. The hunters that remained bowed their heads as she passed. Clearly, her rank stood above Fenric's. Her gaze softened for only a moment before hardening into steel. Looking at Kael, she said,
You shouldn't have lived, Kael. I buried you in my heart a long time ago.
Kael's chest twisted as though the storm itself had turned on him. Then why are you here? Selene's answer cut like a blade.
To finish what should have been done. The Empire commands it, and I obey.
The storm inside Kael screamed to unleash itself, to tear the hall apart in grief and rage. But his hands trembled, not from power, but from memory. He had dreamed of Selene's smile for years, the one thing that kept him alive in shadows. Now that same face stood against him, cloaked in the Empire's crimson. Lyra stepped forward, her voice sharp with fury.
So this is what they do. They turn love into chains.
Selene's eyes flickered toward her, but her voice never wavered.
Well, this is my choice.
Kael's storm surged, lightning crawling across the ruins, the air thick with grief, fury, and betrayal. Then you left me no choice either. The past and present collided in silence before the storm broke again.
Episode 10, Chains of Memory.
The ruins held their breath. Sparks danced faintly along Kael's skin, but his hands remained at his sides. He could not bring himself to lift them against her. Selene stood like carved stone, crimson cloak whispering in the breeze. Her voice was steady, but beneath it Kael heard a crack she could not hide. She said to Kael,
The Empire does not want you dead, Kael. They want you contained. You will come with me, alive.
Lyra's dagger gleamed in her hand.
You think he'll walk into chains just because you ask?
Selene's eyes flickered, not toward Lyra, but to Kael.
I'm not asking.
Kael's storm rippled violently, betraying his turmoil. The memories pressed in, her laughter, her hand in his, the promises they once made beneath quiet skies. And now, the Empire's sigil burned where love once lived. Why? His voice cracked, softer than thunder but heavier than stone. Why serve them, after what they did to us? Selene's expression faltered, just for a heartbeat. Then it hardened again, mask sliding back into place.
Because survival demands obedience. Because fighting them alone is death. Because you were gone, Kael, and I was left with nothing but choice.
Kael's chest ached as though the storm itself was tearing him apart.
They took me. They tried to erase me. And I let them, she whispered. Then louder, with steel in her voice. Enough. Surrender. If you resist, the order is to break you.
The guardians above stirred restlessly, as though sensing the weight of prophecy in the hall. Lyra stepped between them.
He will never bow to your chains.
Lightning surged around Kael, wild yet controlled. His eyes locked on Selene's, pain and fury colliding. If the Empire wants me alive, they will have to take me broken. I will not kneel. For the first time, Selene's composure cracked. Her hand trembled on her blade, not from fear of Kael's storm, but from the storm in her own heart. Then, she said softly,
We are enemies.
The silence shattered as storm, and steel prepared to clash.
Episode 11, Storm of Betrayals.
The ruins trembled under the weight of Kael's storm. Selene's blade gleamed, her stance caught between command and heartbreak. Then, a harsh laugh split the silence. From the rubble, armored and scorched but unbroken, Fenric staggered back into the hall. His spear still hummed with cruel energy, crimson runes crawling across it. Touching, he sneered, eye flicking from Kael to Selene. But the Empire doesn't waste time on sentiment. Selene stiffened, lowering her blade slightly.
You were ordered to withdraw.
Fenric's smirk widened. And you were ordered to obey. The high seat sent me not just to the Stormbearer, but to watch you. Loyalty, after all, is so fragile. Kael's heart lurched. They don't trust you, he whispered, staring at Selene. Her jaw clenched, mask cracking. For the first time, doubt shadowed her eyes. Fenric raised a spear, stormlight snarling as it gathered. So let us settle this now. The prophecy, the traitor, the Empire's chains, it ends in these ruins. Lightning split the hall as his spear came down. Kael flung his storm outward, intercepting the blow. Sparks cascaded across broken stone. Lyra cried out, daggers drawn. But Kael's voice thundered above the chaos. Stay back. This is not just my fight. It's all of ours. Selene's blade wavered. Her eyes locked on Kael's, then Fenric's, torn between the Empire's command and the storm of her own heart. For a heartbeat, the world stood on a knife's edge. 3 warriors, 3 loyalties, and only one storm that would decide what survived the ruins. The storm roared, and the battle began.
Episode 12, The Blade That Chose.
Fenric's spear screamed with crimson light as it cut the air, striking down toward Kael's chest. Kael braced, storm flaring, but before the blow could land, steel met steel. Selene's blade intercepted the strike. Sparks exploded across the ruins, thunder echoing through shattered stone. Fenric snarled, "What are you doing, Selene?" Her face was pale, her hand trembling against his strength, but her voice was steady.
Making a choice.
Kael's storm rippled in disbelief. For a heartbeat, he could only stare. Selene, the woman he thought lost, standing between him and the Empire's spear. Fenric shoved her back with a roar. "Traitor!" Selene staggered, but Kael caught her before she fell. Their eyes locked, stormlight reflecting the war inside them both.
You don't know what this means.
Selene whispered, voice raw.
The Empire will hunt me as they hunt you. There is no turning back.
Kael's hand tightened around hers. Then don't turn back. Stand with me. Fenric's laughter was jagged and cruel. You think love will save you? The Empire will grind you both into ash. He lunged, his spear igniting with a blaze that split the hall. Kael's storm surged to meet it, but this time he was not alone. Selene's blade wove through lightning, her movements precise, lethal, beautiful. For the first time, their storms moved together, his wild power and her honed steel, bound by a bond that refused to die. Lyra's daggers flashed as she joined the fray, her voice sharp with triumph.
Time you picked a side.
The ruins shook with the clash of three storms, empire, prophecy, and love. And for the first time, Kael felt the prophecy bend, not as a chain, but as a choice.
Episode 13, Ashes in the Wind.
The ruins thundered as Kael's storm clashed with Fenric's spear. Selene's blade carved through arcs of lightning, striking with precision born of fury and regret. For a breathless moment, the three storms collided in one blinding explosion of light. When the dust cleared, Fenric staggered, armor cracked, blood streaking his jaw. His spear trembled in his grip. Kael advanced, storm crackling around him. "It's over, Fenric." But Fenric only laughed, a ragged, hateful sound. "Over? No, this is the beginning." With a desperate surge, he hurled his spear downward, shattering the stone beneath their feet. Dust and smoke erupted, cloaking the hall in chaos. Selene. Kael reached through the storm, pulling her close as debris rained down. Lyra shielded them with a wall of steel and sparks. When the smoke thinned, Fenric was gone. Only the echo of his words lingered in the ruins.
He'll tell them.
Selene whispered, her voice breaking.
The Empire will know. My betrayal, our bond.
Kael turned to her, lightning fading into the silence of his eyes. "Then let them come. Let them know you chose." She looked at him, torn between terror and defiance.
They will send more than Fenric next time. They will send monsters.
Kael's storm surged faintly, not as rage but as resolve. "Then we'll face them together." Outside, thunder rolled as though the world itself had heard the vow. A semi-realistic digital painting of a ruined, ancient city at night. Shadows stretch across broken towers and crumbling walls. In the hollow of a shattered temple, a small campfire flickers, casting a warm glow against a cold ruin. Selene sits slightly apart from the fire, sharpening her blade with calm precision, her face illuminated by the firelight but her eyes distant, lost in thought. Kael watches her quietly from the opposite side of the fire, his storm-gray eyes reflecting both concern and silence. Lyra rests nearby, half hidden in the dim glow, a presence of quiet support. The mood is heavy, tense, and intimate, firelight against vast shadow, carrying both warmth and sorrow.
Not for me. For you. For us.
Before he could answer, Lyra stiffened. Her daggers flashed into her hands.
We're not alone.
The fire guttered. The night itself seemed to bend as a figure stepped from the shadows. Cloaked in black and silver, eyes sharp as cut obsidian, the hunter moved with the precision of a predator. Selene froze. Her blade slipped from her hands.
No, not you.
The hunter's voice was calm, almost tender. It's been a long time, Selene. Kael rose, storm coiling. Who are you? The hunter's gaze flicked to him, then back to Selene. Her teacher, her friend, her executioner, if need be. Selene's breath shook, and Kael saw more fear in her face than he ever had.
Kael, she whispered. This is Eric, the one who taught me to kill.
Eric drew his blade, sleek, black and steel, that seemed to drink the firelight. I told the Empire I'd bring you back, Selene, dead or alive. The fire hissed out, leaving only stormlight to cast their shadows. And in that silence, Kael realized this fight would not just be a battle. It would be Selene's past, her choices, and her very soul dragged into the storm.
Episode 14, The Temptation of Shadows.
Eric's blade hovered in the half-light, not yet striking. His voice was low, rich with familiarity. Selene, you don't belong at his side. You were forged for more than this, for greatness. Selene's hand tightened around her sword hilt, but her eyes betrayed the storm inside her. Eric stepped closer, his movements fluid, controlled, like a panther stalking prey. And you were the sharpest of those chains. My finest student. I taught you to move through shadow, to strike where no one else could. Do you think this man, his gaze flicked coldly to Kael, can protect you from what's coming? Kael's storm flared, his voice edged with fury. She doesn't need protecting. She chose. But Eric ignored him, his eyes locked only on Selene. I can still take you back. No shame, no punishment. You'll be honored, feared, free of this prophecy's leash. His voice softened. You know me, Selene. I never lied to you. Her breath shook. Kael saw her blade waver, just slightly, but enough. Enough to make his heart twist. Selene, Kael said, his storm dimming, his voice raw. Don't let him take what we built. Don't let him decide for you again. For a moment, the night held its breath. Between the storm and the shadow, Selene stood torn between the life she had been shaped for and the one she had begun to choose. Eric's hand stretched toward her, not an attack, but an invitation. Come back with me. Selene's sword trembled in her grip. Her choice would change everything. Silence pressed heavy over the ruined temple. Eric's hand stretched toward Selene, a ghost of the bond they once shared. Her sword lowered. Slowly, deliberately, Kael's storm crackled with alarm. Selene. But she didn't look at him. Her gaze stayed locked on Eric, her voice low, trembling as though surrendering.
You're right. You always told me I was forged for more than chains.
Eric's eyes softened, just slightly, victory flickering there. He lowered his own blade, stepping closer to... Good. Come with me. We can still make the Empire bend. Together. Kael's heart clenched. Lightning faltered around him. Is she choosing him? Selene reached for Eric's hand. Their fingers brushed, and then her blade flashed upward in a silver arc, striking for his heart. Eric barely twisted aside, the edge ripping across his shoulder instead of ending him. His eyes widened, shock breaking through his composure. You...
I learned more than how to kill from you.
Selene spat, her stance steady now, stormlight reflecting in her eyes.
I learned how to wait, how to strike when it matters.
Kael's storm roared back to life, thunder rolling through the broken walls. Relief and fury burned in his veins all at once. Eric staggered back, blood trailing from his shoulder, his voice no longer calm, but laced with venom. Then you've chosen your grave. He raised his blackened blade again, this time with no hesitation. Kael stepped forward, storm at his side, Selene at his back. For the first time, they stood not divided by doubt, but united against the shadow of her past. The hunter's shadow and the storm's fury were about to collide.
Episode 15, Storm and Shadow United.
The temple groaned under the weight of thunder. Eric bared his teeth, his cloak whipping like a wing of shadow. You turned your back on me, Selene. Now you'll die with him. His blade shot forward, faster than breath. Kael's storm met it with crack of lightning, sparks hissing as steel clashed against raw power. But this time, Kael wasn't alone. Selene slipped into the fight like a whisper of death. Her movements were precise, honed, her shadow-born speed weaving perfectly into Kael's brute force. Storm and shadow, thunder and silence. Eric snarled, parrying Kael's crushing strikes while twisting aside from Selene's cutting precision. But their rhythm was relentless. Kael driving forward with fury, Selene slicing in from the blind angles Eric couldn't cover. "You think you can fight me together?" Eric spat, blood flecking his lips. His blackened blade whirled in a storm of its own, carving arcs of shadow meant to divide them. But they did not divide. Kael's lightning crashed down the blind. Selene's blade slid in through the gap. When Eric countered her, Kael's storm shielded her. For every weakness, the other filled the space. For the first time, Eric faltered. His composure cracked. "You're fighting like—"
"Like we're one."
Selene finished the sentence, her blade grazing his cheek in a blur of silver. Kael's storm swelled, his voice a roar of thunder. "You can't break her again, Eric, and you will never break us." Lightning lit the ruined temple in white fire. Shadows clashed against storm, the battle shaking the bones of the earth itself. And in that moment, for the first time, Kael and Selene fought not as haunted souls bound by fate, but as a storm-forged pair, unstoppable, unbroken.
End of Season 2. Please do come back for Season 3. Please don't forget to subscribe, comment, like, and share.